It's automatic live.
We're live now, right?
Thursday, May 12th, HR Middle East chat from Dubai, United Arab Emirates.
We have now 2 viewers. Let's kick off.
So welcome everyone. Again, May 12th, 2016 to HR Middle East chat. This is live from Dubai. My name is Brad Boyson. I'm the Executive Director for SHRM or SHRM based in Dubai. My colleague.
And my name is Anas Al-Mar'i and I'm the Director of Training at Focus Social Academy.
So our topic today it's a mix of several things actually, and a very hot topic of late in the GCC is outsourcing. The government, some of the governments in the region have gone on record as talking about outsourcing government services, for example. Earlier this year, the UAE in particular, and also Saudi Arabia is getting into more of migrating work that's been done in the government sector to the private sector. And there's many different ways that can be done. We're not privy to sort of any inside information about that. So our general topic today is outsourcing. And outsourcing as it relates to work, it affects all of us as employees. You know, there's a standard sort of format of work. And as employees, sometimes the type of work that we do can be directly or indirectly affected by outsourcing. Now, outsourcing is not new. You know, as a topic, it's been around for decades, and it's part of globalization as well. But actually, before we get into sort of the substance of our discussion today, I also want to mention to anyone viewing right now that what we're going to introduce for our chats going forward, to reward our loyal viewers, is every chat that we do, we're going to introduce a prize.
Wow.
Yeah, why not? Of course, we're not eligible for the prize, which is always the case, but the prize is going to be some sort of benefit either from Focus Academy or SHRM to our viewers. And we'll give out one each session. And how we're going to do this is we're going to announce the prize randomly at some point throughout the broadcast. So you know we do a 1-hour show. The HR Middle East chat is 1 hour. And at some point today, it might be 20 minutes into the broadcast, it might be 55 minutes into the broadcast, it may be 42 minutes into the broadcast. I'm going to let you know what is going to be our giveaway, our prize for our loyal viewers. And it's eligible whether you're watching live or you're watching the recorded feed either on our various media. It could be Anas's Periscope, or it could be our Facebook feed that we're using now as well. So stay tuned for that prize. So outsourcing versus doing things in-housing. I guess the place to start, Anas, is sort of just being clear what we mean by outsourcing.
Interesting, and here we are also live on Periscope.
Great.
So here we are on Periscope, and there we are
multimedia. Yes.
Yeah, multimedia, and here's my iPad as well, so we can. Yeah, absolutely. So outsourcing. What does it mean to you when you hear someone say outsourcing? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Hiring someone without being fully on my own, let's say, responsibility as a company.
Sure.
Especially here in the country.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you a bit more of a technical definition. I mean, everything you said is valid, and there's no one absolute meaning to this. But outsourcing is where work that's been done inside an organization, it could be private, it could be public sector, that's done inside by employees of that organization, is subsequently taken outside of the organization. It could be done individual by work, it could be done in terms of outsourcing to another organization. The point is that work was previously done inside the organization is no longer done inside the organization. Yeah. And as employees, that has a big impact on our work. You know, and as I said at the outset of this program, globalization, one of the fundamental trends of globalization was and is this trend towards outsourcing. How about we talked about outsourcing. I guess we should be clear to what we mean by doing things in-house. So when we say something is done in-house, in contrast to outsourcing, again, what does that mean to you?
Well, it just came from in the same context. I just came from a meeting with the government here in Ajman, and they said, we're going to outsource this. Like, we offered them a lot of things, and they said, we are going to outsource this as we already doing 1, 2, 3.
Right.
So it's like, okay, this is very much of a today's context. So let's start with those soft skills and sometimes like IT skills that people mostly outsource. So what I see, especially here in the United Arab Emirates, is people outsource telecom services.
Yeah.
Graphic design,
right.
IT,
yeah.
website building and development and apps. So this is what mainly people outsource, and sometimes the training. So people, they cannot afford a learning and development department inside their company, so they outsource training, and this is how training.
Do you see a common theme to that? Like, based on what you said, is the typical types of outsourcing that's done? What's the underlying theme? It comes to the question of why. Why do organizations outsource?
Well, if we are going to say about the UAE, it's obvious that I don't want to have you under my visa, or either the company cannot employ that amount of people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So there's a mix of I guess, legal and cost.
Cost.
Right? So those people, some people may not be aware, often in getting a license in the UAE, for example, it entitles an organization to a certain number of sponsorships for employees. And that, in essence, caps your level of employees. That's an administrative or legal reason. Another reason might be cost. And if we look at it from a global point of view, cost is usually the number one reason.
Yes, it is.
But what does that mean? Like, when you say cost, what's the difference? Why is there a cost saving from doing something that has to be done in-house, in your organization? How does it save money by having someone else do it if it's the same activity?
Well, if we take the telecom companies, like, rather than employing 500 technicians and be responsible for them, right?
Yeah.
If you are my employee, I'm going to be responsible for everything that happens to you out there.
Absolutely.
This is a headache. Right?
Yeah.
It's a responsibility and accountability. So if you are delivering that service while I have no string attached, it's absolutely no responsibility, then it's going to be better for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to one point that we really didn't talk about, is that all the work that you have to do that maybe is not your specialization, it's not your core business or your organization's objectives.
Core business, yeah.
And so whether it's the administrative work, the procedural work, the paperwork, the legal work, you're doing all this in-house. Maybe you can have someone else do this work for you, and at a minimum that's going to be a cost savings. Assuming that they charge you at a rate that is fair compared to what cost you to do internally.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I mean, that cost savings is sort of number one. Getting specialization is arguably the second most important reason. Is the example. Let me summarize it by an example. You or I, all of us at some point are living somewhere, and we're in Focus Academy right now, and we could decide, let's paint the office, right?
You don't like the purple?
The purple, yeah, it's good for media. It's a nice contrast, actually, the purple. Yeah. And so, just as an organization, we decide to paint the office space. Now, we can do this ourselves. It's not a very complicated skill set, but it takes time. It takes money,
Yes.
and it's not so much, if we do it ourselves, we'll probably save some money. But what about the time that we spend that we could be doing other things that we're better at, other things that are our specialization? So in contrast, what we do is maybe hire someone who's not an employee to come in and do the work for us. It just so happens to be in our physical workspace.
Yeah.
And in the process, they're probably experts in painting. They probably will work faster than we can.
Yeah.
They probably
You want to learn.
yeah, they've got a skill set that we don't have, and it may simply be quantitative in terms of how fast they finish, and often overall they'll do a better job, and it'll probably cost us less than if we had done it ourselves because of the time that we spend. So that applies to all. That example is kind of, applies to all kinds of examples of outsourcing. The general principle of why you would do it. One element is the cost. One element is the expertise. You put the two together, and someone who specializes in a certain activity should be able to do it at a better price, lower cost, and more of a higher quality than you.
Short delivery time.
Yeah, but it is, it's not, think about it this way, why not outsource almost everything? Why, how do you decide what not to outsource?
Well, you don't outsource your core, the one.
I mean, that's the essence of it.
Yeah.
What is it that you do, your organization does, that it's competitive advantage? Other words that are used are things like core competencies. The economists will say things like, technical economics talks. You should do something as long as the marginal benefits outweigh the marginal costs. That, which essence means that you're adding value to your organization. You can do something and that value could be profit, it could be market share, it could be brand awareness. So you're doing all these things to focus on what and government, private sector, doesn't matter. We all have sort of a mission statement that we do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh.
So my question to you as we sort of bring it up away from almost the theory of this is, what are some of the technical tools that you're aware of that are available to organizations, either the organization itself or perhaps people who are in that space where they're receiving the work that's outsourced to them? They're in the business of doing work that others are outsourcing. We use this word freelancer sometimes, but if I'm really sort of picky about the terminology, we use the word freelancer here a bit dually, right? A freelancer can mean two things. Often people see a freelancer who's someone that's in the country legally, but their visa is for something and they're doing a different type of work, right? And that's, we often say freelancing. Freelancing means that I work for myself, I have a work that I do, but it's not aligned with what my visa sponsorship is.
And the second one?
The second one, which is arguably the truer definition of a freelancer is someone who's self-employed. A freelancer is someone who's their own business, who's their own consulting entity, and they sell that service to the marketplace. They work for themselves. So we're not talking about the freelancer who does something here at a low price because they have to sort of be, as they might say, low on the radar so that people don't question their legitimacy in doing the work. We're talking about actual consultants who, and the consultant could be a person or it could be an organization. So freelancing, outsourcing, related but slightly different concepts. So I wanted to pull upon your expertise in the technical and social media space. What are some of the tools right now that relate to this topic of outsourcing that you're aware of?
Let me add a third definition to freelancers, especially in the region here,
Sure.
which is more like constitution to me.
Consultant, freelancer, a generic definition of a freelancer is a consultant.
Yeah. So the third one is a job seeker.
Yeah, but that's very loose, isn't it? I'm freelancing, meaning I'm looking for work. Some people joke and say, like, I'm an actor. Well, that means you're unemployed. It's all these hidden terms that are used.
Yeah, I meet a lot of people and they tell me I'm a business consultant.
And someone's asking, how's a job seeker a freelancer?
Well, who's this?
It's it's a play on words to a certain degree. You're not saying that you're unemployed.
Yeah, because the word unemployed is very negative.
That's right.
It's immediately discount your competency. So people trying to escape from saying this, which is absolutely also you should escape and not use this word at all.
Hi, Randy.
Yeah. So this is what I mean. So in terms of social media, let me get your question right. Are you asking what we can outsource in social media?
Well, how is technology changing outsourcing? Let's start there.
Well, first of all, technology, like, is competing with a human being, as obvious as that.
Yeah.
And in social media, there are so many social media management tools, SMMT, and those social media management tools helps you not to rely on your efficiency as a human being.
Right.
So let's start from monitoring the content,
Yeah.
whether for yourself or for the competitors. Analytics. We can also talk about community management. So rather than going and opening every single platform, I can have Hootsuite and I can, or Buffer or any other social media management tool.
It's so powerful, the technology.
Yeah, so you could disconnect now. Yeah.
The power of technology today, the resources. We used to joke that when people first went to the moon, that your computer, your laptop had, I don't know, 100 times more technology than the rocket ships that took people to the moon, and it's 1969, 1970.
Wow.
But today that's even more extreme. We have technology as freelancers, as consultants, to act like corporate entities that had millions and millions of dollars in terms of budgets for marketing in order to connect with the international community beyond your region, beyond your city. These are tools that are the barriers to entry to get into sort of scaling your skill set have never been bigger. This idea of being, before we talk about freelancer, we used to say things like free agents. That was I believe it was Dan Pink coined that terminology over 10 years ago. Or
Dan Pink?
It was either Dan Pink or think of the other name, the other gentleman, Tom Peters. One of those two introduced this term of free agent, where we're moving away from the idea of being an employee to being a contractor. We're working from contract to contract, not as sort of employees, but as outside experts that move from project to project. And there's no doubt that trend is growing. I don't want to say that it's dominating the workforce, but it's definitely a trend that's growing. Mohammed's asking a question here. What do you recommend to someone who wants to start as a freelancer and how to be sustainable?
Yeah, we will come to that.
Yeah, we'll come to that, Mohammed. It's a
Thank
fair
you, Mohammed.
question.
Bear
Yeah.
with us, please.
Yeah.
So back to my point.
The
Sorry we
technology.
got disconnected from Periscope, and now we are live again. So that from the analytics, and even human being is not efficient, and it's almost impossible to monitor what's being written there unless you have a tool. So this is one thing. Second thing is the community management, which is rather than checking the community and being engaged with the community from the platform itself. So I have one platform, one master platform that can control everything.
Right.
This means that instead of employing 2 to 3 people to do the job, I can pay the subscription for one of those platforms and get it done.
Yeah. So just to paraphrase what you're saying is the technologies today are automating a lot of administrative work that previously was done by people or required a lot of processes. And in that sense, that's an opportunity for outsourcing, but it's an opportunity for organizations to provide that service.
100%.
But as employees, it's also one of the challenges of our work is that the work that we're doing, the activities that we're doing are potentially threatened by outsourcing, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is, it's very true. Do you see a difference in terms of outsourcing between the public and private sectors, how they approach this topic?
Well, yeah, I see. Are you guys?
Are we investors? No.
Human
resources and social media.
We're just speaking reality, my friend.
Yeah.
Reality here.
It's like expression. You don't have to be in favor of something. The more you understand it, the more you can control it and decide what's right for you.
And this is social media.
Social media is the same way. Yeah. And we're talking about people's careers and lives. So understanding social media, understanding economic trends, technology is a responsibility people have in order to manage their career.
Yeah.
So coming back to our question, public sector, private sector, is there a difference in outsourcing and the trend, or?
Yeah, let's talk about the region and UAE in particular. You would see and notice that when it comes to semi-private or government, yeah, there's a lot of difference. Please share your ideas. We would love to hear from you. And you also can use HRME chat hashtag to share your ideas. Thank you. So the government, it's going to be a massive scale. It's already a massive scale, like 100, 200, thousands, probably can be thousands. While in the private sector, it's not that way. Private sector is like, they outsource certain stuff for certain companies or certain, like, let's say, we can take management consultancy as an outsourcing, right? You said freelancing can be a single person, one professional, and it can be a company or an organization, and that brings this into context as well.
So people are commenting, in terms of the cost structure. Anas on Facebook is saying, is cost optimization one of the main reasons? Absolutely. We talked about that at the beginning. It's the economies of scale, it's the cost, but it's also the service or the expertise. If these entities, whether that's entities, one person or an organization, specialize in some area, often they can provide the service at a lower or comparable cost at a higher quality. That's the general theme.
Well, government, there's a comment saying that government doesn't use freelancers. They outsource to a service providers, to companies. So here in the country, you would see a lot of social media, speaking of my expertise, a lot of social media managers sitting inside the ministry while they are not employee of the ministry itself.
Yeah,
they are employees of an agency or an outsourcing company.
Again, I think people are using the term freelancer incorrectly. They're thinking of someone who's perhaps not appropriately sponsored or licensed to do a certain type of work. We're talking about freelancers who are legally consultants who specialize in this type of work. And the word has two meanings, and we want to stick to the appropriate meaning, the legal meaning. Yeah, and I agree with you in terms of the government sector. We mentioned at the beginning that there is a publicly stated migration taking place. Governments like the UAE, Saudi Arabia are saying that they want to shift work away from the government sector to the private sector, and cost saving is one reason, and efficiencies are another reason. There's an argument that the private sector, when they're held accountable for certain targets, certain goals, are more effective than typically doing something in the government sector. Well, there's some things that government have to do. That's the thing. Comparing to the private sector, is government in terms of military is one of the most obvious. Things that are social goods, as the economists would say, you can't outsource that. You may contract to supply, technology and other materials, but there's just certain things that the government has to do. But that really does sort of beg the question: is where do you draw that line? What are the things that the government does have to do? What are the things that the private sector have to do? It's a moving target. There's things that we would have thought many years ago that had to be done by government, that because of technology, because of automation, can now be done in the private space.
I agree with you. Shall we come back to Mohammed's question?
Sure.
So Mohammed, I started as a freelancer like 4 years ago, and I started in the training. And you learn as you go. Like, it depends from an industry to another, from target customers to another. It depends from country to another. So I will speak about my own experience. When I have started, I've done a few mistakes which can probably anyone learn. So the first thing that you will need to start is get your service legalized. Mm-hmm. So you need to be sure that you're doing absolutely 100% legal purposes. Why? Because sooner or later you're going to make money, and if your service is not legal or you are not eligible to do that service, then you will be in a big trouble.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
sometimes the client themselves might threaten you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one thing. So you start legally, and then without money we cannot survive, right? So you need to sign contracts with any of your client ahead. So I will, because most of the time services or training or fixing like simple stuff, but yet it's so crucial. And then the client, after you deliver your training or you deliver the service, and tell you, are you going to charge me that amount of money for like less than a minute?
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay you that.
Exactly.
Well, it's not the timing. It's what I have done for you as a service, and what I helped you with. So you make sure that you agree on what is the deliverables. And there is so many, you would see so many posts on Facebook and on other social media platforms making sarcasm of what is the client expectation, and on the other side of the picture it will show you like, what is the reality. So sometimes it's a cat looking at itself in the mirror and there's a lion. Like that side is the client expectation. So you need to make sure that this is what I'm going to deliver to you. Anything beyond this scope, I'm going to charge you 1, 2, 3.
Right.
And when it comes to IT, where there is, you need to revise the work and then come back to me, and then make sure that you also write that in the contract, that I'll give you 3 times to review my my deliverables. Otherwise, it's an endless loop.
Yeah. No, so many good points in us. I mean, I think the one that really caught my attention is if you're not doing this legitimately, the chances of you being successful in the long term are almost zero, because you're just setting yourself to be taken advantage of. You may think that there's some opportunity there, but how do you, if there's a dispute, how do you resolve this dispute? What authorities do you appeal to if there's some problem? And so we're, as we've said a couple times, we're really focusing on legitimate consultants.
Yeah, and I would like also to add, Mohammed, that you need to be found in the right place. And today this is going to be a quarter of our show talking about what LinkedIn has introduced for freelancers. والله للأسف ما نترجم، لأنه براد بس بيحكي إنجليزي وأنا بحكي عربي، فلو عندك أسئلة بالعربي أنا بجاوبها، بس هو التوك شو بس باللغة الإنجليزية. شكرا. Let's go. I was saying about the right platforms to be in. Like there's so many, the well-known platforms are Elance and Odesk, and they even merge together, and there's some clarity. This is for high-profile services where you charge per minute, and there's so many platforms. So you also need to be there. Like when I ask graphic designers, like, send me your Behance, I would say, what is Behance? I knew immediately they don't exist in the whole business. Mm-hmm. Like they are somewhere else. Okay. Oh, I'm lazy to upload my stuff. Well, you can be also lazy in doing what I'm gonna give to you. So you should be in the right platform to exist, so I can reach out to you easily. So nice. This is really important, and it's a game. It's a simple personal branding tips and techniques that you need to do as a freelancer.
You know, if I hear what you're saying too, one of the strategies might be to not necessarily go out on alone first. Is maybe find someone who's doing this and start out in sort of a partnership model.
Why not?
Learn from them. You know, have them coach and mentor you to understand the marketplace, because you know when you're an employee and you come into an organization, you've got all these resources, you've got induction programs, you've got policies and procedures, but when you're doing this sort of freelancing work, you know, where do you go for your guidance? Where do you go for your expertise? And a lot of people, you know, trial and error, they learn through making mistakes. People who are more successful are going to take advantage of the resources out there and avoid making those mistakes in the first place.
Yeah, and there's also human being has certain nature, right? And people try to get everything for free from a freelancer. Yeah. So when it comes to, I'm speaking out of experience, like people would like to ask you, like, Anas, can you review this? Can you fix my CV? Can you fix my stuff? Can you, like, you know, and this, like, you know, if I want to do it, I do it right. I'm speaking on my myself. And like, you know, if you want to do it right, it will take time. And instead of keep like, you know, at the end of the day, we can't be charity, like doing everything for free. And as a freelancer, Muhammad, and everyone, myself and other people out there who's watching and listening, it's like, you know, you have to put a price tag for your services. It doesn't need, like, you know, there are some people take it to the extreme where, like, you know, even if you want to talk to me, you have to pay me money. It's not that way.
Yeah.
You have to have like 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes free.
Well, and that's where I think part of having sort of a marketing strategy is is essential, because you may want to transition from marketing activities that you may sort of use to promote yourself into more of a revenue model over time, but you have to have some sort of strategy, because if you go to market and you show that you're willing to do things, for lack of a better word, free, you're not managing expectations. You're actually setting up yourself to be captured in that, and how do you get out of it? So it's much better to have an actual strategy where you say, okay, this is what I charge for. This is something that I may do as a service, or as something that's CSR, or something that I wouldn't charge for. But you have to understand your business model. Too many people sort of approach it from the point of view as, I'm going to get famous, I'm going to get lots of connections, people are going to know me, and then eventually I'll be able to transition to a revenue model. But if you've defined yourself as someone who's doing things for free too early, you're not, it's almost impossible to step out of that model without breaking all of those relationships you had established early on.
Yeah, and there's the last 2 points is, number one is go to meetup.com or Facebook or wherever you are around the world. See, like, you know, what is the most effective platform for bringing community together. Mm-hmm. So this is how we bring so many people into this chat via our meetup. So when I started, like, you know, years ago, I have immediately, the moment I said I'm going this way, I set up a meetup group. And obviously you pay, like, you know, less than $50 to set up your, let's say, your online shop. For me, it's like an online shop.
Right.
And you start showing to people what you can do for them.
Yeah.
And the moment, so offer it for free for a first time, or every now and then, to keep the momentum. And make sure that you take testimonials. And this is like, you know, this is where most of the people...
and take them where?
Yeah.
Like, where would you ask for hard copy, or how would you receive?
It depends. Yeah. I will tell you my own experience. So first thing is, when I see people outspoken, I ask them for a YouTube. So I film them like 30 seconds, 1 minute,
Nice.
Let them speak, you know, their honest feedback.
Nice.
And then for those who are shy, you know, you can ask it for written, and make sure that you help them, like, you know, those keywords that I want you to help me with, what you saw in me based on today's experience. And you can also invite prominent people in the industry, like, can you please come as an honored guest, and you would give me a feedback. And they might say, they might learn, you know, no one knows everything, because you're new blood to the industry, you might know some stuff which they haven't even heard of, and then they are going to endorse you. And once you start anchoring your personal brand with already successful, prominent people in the industry, and then you are going to change the game.
Well, I hope people are listening. In terms of the takeaway that I really liked from that was, you know, capture the testimonials. If you have to develop your own brand, and in the process of delivering a service, if you fail to capture those elements that are going to be used for future business development, wow, you know,
it's way effective, especially in our region. Like, you know, okay, I'm going to pay 1,500 dirhams for this 1-day training. Like, you know, assure me, like, you know, I'm scared. I might invest this amount of money, and then I might say, well, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So, like, seeing what already people have been there and what they've gone through, it really helps.
Very much so. So other tools or recommendations that you have for someone who's a freelancer who's looking at opportunities in the outsourcing market that's growing in the region?
It's very simple, Brad. Most of freelancers, I would say they are into the IT, right? So let's take that as an example.
Okay.
So if I'm an IT developer, let's say a mobile app or a web developer, right? So based on the area that I'm living around, so I even save money with commuting. I would go and check the business websites around my area or the shops.
Okay.
And then I come with a proposal. Brad, you're here around the area and I really like your service, and I believe that you are discounting your service because you're not properly positioned in the online.
Yeah.
And this is what I can do for you. Like, this is before and this is after. And I already come with like one pager or with some graphics.
Proposing solutions. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, 90% they will hire you.
Yeah.
And one will recommend you to 2 or 3. And if they haven't recommend you, like tell them, Brad, recommend 3 names that you think they will take my service. And trust me, if you are happy, you're definitely going to talk about that.
It's such, again, good advice, sound advice. Collect testimonials, and in terms of prospecting for clients, do your research and make business proposals that solve problems. Instead of saying, "Can I have your business?
No.
Will you hire me? Will you hire me for this type of work? I can do this. I have this skill. Give me the chance." The one that I just hate the most in this region is just give me a chance. And you've heard my answer. You've heard my answer before. This is your chance. If you're talking to me now and I have something that you need, that is the chance. Propose something to me now instead of giving me problems. And it's such common sense when you're on the other side of the table. I don't want to make fun of anyone in terms of approach. We've all been on both sides of the table, and it is challenging when you're looking for something and you need something. But you have to shift that into an approach to offer something, to problem solve, to sell yourself. And again, this has been around for a long time. I'm not a big fan of this elevator pitch mentality where you can propose in 15 seconds how to solve world hunger or some sort of huge issue. No, but you need to understand your value proposition. You need to understand your own individual employment brand, and you need to be able to say that in a very concise statement, both verbally and using the power of social media.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Power of social media, indeed.
So any other technical tools out there that you're recommending to people who are looking to capitalize on sort of the migration to outsourcing?
Yes, sure. And speaking of money and the tools, you have also to be a little bit techie savvy and adapt the online payments and make it easy for people to pay. So this is, I find it most of the time challenging that people prefer to pay in cash, or if they don't pay on the day, they won't, like the interest will fade away by time.
Yeah.
So let's say I just met you and I told you next week I'm delivering a training. Are you interested? Oh yeah, I'm interested. Like, would you pay now? If that interest is genuine, they would pay now. If not, or let's say they are interested and okay, I'll meet you next week and I will pay on the day. It's not going to happen most likely, because they would keep thinking I'm going to pay this amount of money for that thing. And can we read the question? Yes. Yeah, so this is an important, so get a PayPal, get those online payments in the region. Here we have so many successful online payments that make it really easy to pay, and offer your bank account up there, so if you are interested you can pay right away. Don't let them ask, like offer everything for them and they will take advantage of that, and probably you can help them in the like getting your call to action.
There was a sort of a question coming from your Periscope about how do you differentiate yourself in technical media, because there's so many emails, there's so much information that we get, there's so much spam. What kind of strategies do you recommend for a legitimate freelancer to enter into that digital space and not be classified as spam?
I have a very successful plan that I have myself followed, which is, rather than sending for everyone out there, and you go to Facebook and you would see posts on your a comment on your post and it's like advertising.
Yeah.
We are not in 2007. We're in 2016,
Yeah.
right? So what used to work, it doesn't work anymore, and it's spam. When you spam people, people will remember you that this guy spammed me. I'll never talk to them anymore.
Well, and the tools, you know, like blocking tools and other sort of filters.
Yeah.
You know, it can swing both ways. You know, we've got my Outlook. For every 20 emails that come in that it captures as spam, I'm going to have one that it's capturing that's not spam. So, you know, the technology's not perfect, but you sort of have to balance it. And one of the things that I do is, you know, for legitimate connections, some of my software allows me to give them preferred status.
Yeah.
You know, so that you're a preferred email, and that protects them from sort of ever being caught up in any filters.
Okay, so I get this comment about email marketing. I was about to talk it. Thank you for bringing this up. So rather than spending money or investing in the email marketing, and to be honest with you, for a not well established, like I don't believe them. Imagine that I receive proposals for improving my LinkedIn account.
Mm-hmm.
Probably you haven't done your job. Mm-hmm. Like when you send me as an ask, I would like to help you with your CV. You better look at at what I'm doing. I'm helping people with, like, you know, I'm your competitor basically.
Yeah.
And you're offering me to fix my CV. You haven't done your job properly. So that's number one. So what I have done, what I consider it as a very successful, and I made money and I reached out and I built my reputation in the market, is I went to chat rooms and blogs where job seekers exist and where people needs my service. Mm-hmm. And rather than posting, hey, this is what I'm offering, I help them in front of each, like, you know, there's, let's say, a group of 100, I pick one or two, those the most complicated issues, and like, you know, every week I try to pick a different problem. Like, you know, I'm in this industry and I've been in Dubai for a couple of weeks, so today is the newbie day. And I help them, like, this is what you need to do. And after 10 weeks, I have solved almost all kind of problems. And I kept a record of that. So the next, like after the first 10 weeks, everyone becomes almost of a repetitive story. And then I start to tell them, look, this is how I helped one of your friends, like, you know, to jump start in the country. Okay, and then go and read, and they find it very successful. And after 3 months, people start referring what I'm doing to each other in that community.
Yeah. I mean, that's the power of the network, is the referral. In our personal lives, we know this. When we get references from people we trust, family and friends, that gives so much more value than something that we get as an email to a dear sir or madam or some other sort of typical marketing.
Never.
So at this point in us, I want to do what I mentioned at the outset, is offer our prize to people who are watching our HR Middle East chat. And what we offer, and this will be probably most valuable to people working in the HR space, is we have memberships to join SHRM on an annual basis, and it costs $95 US per year to join SHRM. And if you've done your research, that's a very fair market value compared to other associations. I encourage people to look at what it costs to join marketing associations, other HR associations.
1,600 dirhams. I have asked about it yesterday.
Yeah, it's $95 US. Very good.
Yeah.
We're not here to criticize anyone. Let's be positive.
No, it's not criticizing. It's just telling the price. If you check it online.
So people who are watching now, who make reference to this May 12th HR Middle East chat and send me an email, I'm going to ask Dipti to put on our Twitter feed my email, but I'll also say it as well, saying I watched your Middle East chat. We're going to offer you a $15 discount on the membership from the regular price. So, you know,
there would be a code.
There'll be a code, and this is for people who make specific reference to today's broadcast, HR Middle East chat, May 12th. My email that you have to send to me is brad.boyson@shrm.org. brad.boyson, BOYSON @shrm.org. send me that email and we will send you a special code to get a discount on 1-year membership with Sham.
Interesting. Thank you very much. So next week is my turn.
Yeah, something from Anas and his connections. Yeah.
Interesting. So in the last 9 minutes, shall we introduce what LinkedIn introduced recently?
Please, tell us.
So for freelancers and even professionals who who has got some time on the side and they would like to offer what they are doing, and this is something maybe we haven't spoke about, which is you meet a lot of people where they finish work at 2 or 4 or 5 and they will tell you, I have 3-4 hours a day where I can teach or train or consult, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you opt for one of those services and then you test yourself out there? You might end up making money in those couple of hours every day more than what you earn from your full-time salary.
Interesting. Yeah, I believe it.
So now the game changer is LinkedIn and what they have provided. It's not because I have this on my laptop, but it's because LinkedIn is it's part of our social media checking every single day for most of the people, especially here in the country. So what's happening now is LinkedIn tapped into this business, which is the freelancing and let's say outsourcing as well. So instead of going to those platforms, with all respect, I'm not here preferring anyone, but when I used to look for freelancers, I didn't want to go to a third party or another website that I already haven't registered once a month to use that service, Brad. And most of the people, if you ask them why don't you go to those websites, let's say Elance or Odesk and other freelancing websites, this is what they are going to tell you. I'm not going to set up a money account. Where is money? They can be a scam or spam or a fraud, right?
True.
So now I'm already on LinkedIn. I can search for people already in LinkedIn. I don't need to have a new account, and I'm probably already a premium member of LinkedIn, and I can, it's already linked my credit card or debit card to that, so it make it easier.
So how is this different than the standard services offered by LinkedIn?
I won't say there's so much difference as of now, but they say that you are already connected to 443 million members around the world.
Right.
So your chance is you're already connected to a business people. It's not a freelancers community only, right?
Of course.
So other websites is mainly freelancers communities, while now is you and me and others. So most of the people as of now, they are not freelancers. And right now, if you go to LinkedIn and type freelancer photographer, you'd have very few people right in there. But when I tell you as a service, look, now I can offer you a special platform within my platform only for freelancers, for photographers, now you would consider it.
Well, I think in part of what I hear you saying is there's something that's happened within the LinkedIn is that there's an inbuilt trust network.
And it's already a trusted network.
Yeah, trust in the sense too that people are connected to other people, and that referral network is sort of hidden behind the scenes as sort of references and connections. So they've developed that ecosystem of experts, and now there's movement to sort of focus on the freelancer, the independent consultant, these types of positions.
Yeah. So LinkedIn, like we say, the added value is the LinkedIn itself. So it's already they're counting on this. Second thing is, if you go to www.linkedin.com/profinder, PRO Finder, and I will tweet that as well in a few seconds. So you will see what I'm talking about. You would see how would you register as a service, let's say someone who is looking for a service, or as a service provider, as a freelancer. And then you would see so many categories. I'm looking right now here, and I would like to bring the Periscope and show you. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so you'd see starting from design, writing and editing, accounting, marketing. Yeah, accounting. There's so many companies in the country here, especially SMEs. They outsource accountants, legal stuff, and
so it sounds like, Anas, what they're trying to do is they're taking this sort of static market that is sort of a digital stack of business cards.
Thank you very much.
And they're trying to sort of help you, the individual business, the consultant, the freelancer, to actually start to push out your marketing.
Yeah, it's dynamic.
Yeah.
When you say it's static, thank you very much for bringing the word. Now it's going to be dynamic.
Right. And we've seen that on profiles for people already in terms of LinkedIn saying attach a video, attach a presentation that you've made.
Content.
And it sounds like what they're doing is trying to take it one step further and make it more of a portal that allows you to dynamically market yourself instead of waiting for recruiters to find you or just simply connecting to expand your network.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, Brad. And if we look at LinkedIn Profiler, you would immediately look at those senior people that they are also trying to shift the thoughts and the stereotype, let's say, about freelancers. Like, look, those guys are freelancers. It's not like what you said. You can be very high profile people as a freelancer. Look at those what they call a global speaker or international speakers. They're freelancers.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, someone mentioned it on your Periscope that freelancer, consultant, freelancer, they're essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
We just so happen in the region because of the job market dynamics here dealing with visas and sponsorship. The word freelancer sometimes has a negative meaning. In other words, someone's doing something inappropriate related to work. And we're not talking about that marketplace. We're not talking about people who are on a tourist visa and they're working or something like that. When we say freelancer, we mean consultants who are legitimate legal consultants, often with either an area of expertise or some other sort of value add to promote or service to provide.
I came across a profile yesterday and I looked at it, and the lady mentioned that a professional model, freelancer, and between two brackets she said, I'm professionally certified, and she even elaborated. So hey, look, I'm not here messing around. I'm here professionally in this industry.
Right.
Because you would see so many fake and scam profiles, and they say I'm a model or I'm whatever, and in fact it's just a scam, right? It's a honey trap for those who are using those websites as a dating services, which is absolutely terrible. So this is you can also elaborate as part of your personal branding and positioning yourself that I'm professionally certified. You can be certified no matter what industry you are. There is a certification for it. So go and seek that professional membership.
But do your due diligence too, because we see professors who set up their own freelancing and they offer certificates in something. So what I would add is do some research into any certificate that you're looking into, and look into sort of the history of the organization. It's one of the things I do, and it just amazes me that when I look at a new business online, their website, their homepage, their landing page, the first thing that I look at is the About Us. I go to the section for the people. Are there real people who are associating themselves with this website? And I'm shocked how many times there's not. Is the website is just sort of a
ghost to it.
Yeah, it's a shell, it's a ghost, and in this day and age that just doesn't work anymore. If I don't see real people connected with a business presence on the internet, I don't believe it's real. So I know the arguments for and against putting up your information. You might want to protect some of your key employees from being poached by your competitors, this type of thing, or you want to only deal with decision makers who are legitimate business interests and not people selling to you something that aren't in a position to do business with you. But at this point, I don't care anymore. If you're in, it's like you say in terms of LinkedIn without a photo. What does that say? If you're on LinkedIn and you don't have your photo, I don't believe it's real. It's part of your identification, and it's who you are. So I look forward to hearing more success stories with this channel within LinkedIn.
I'll keep everyone posted with their latest.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, now it's only available in the States, and
okay.
but it's good to be ready, and once they roll it out for our region, so we can be ready and we start making money immediately. And they're going to offer, let's say I applied for a freelance web designer,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to receive the best 5 offers. LinkedIn will recommend the best 5, and then they're going to send out for.
And I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think if you're good at what you do and you're a consultant or freelancer, you have to be at the front of this. You can't wait, because the challenge is if you wait until it's more established and it has more sort of worked out some of the bugs, you're going to be at the back of the line in terms of your brand awareness. Other people are going to have established themselves with a presence, and some of them might not even deserve that. They've just sort of had that first mover advantage in marketing themselves using the social media.
I absolutely agree with you. So by this, it's unfortunate that we've reached the end of our talk for this week. So I hope that we added some new information and new tips and tricks for freelancers, and for probably the other side who's looking for a good freelancer who's prominent and can deliver the job within their conditions, let's say. So next week I probably can be traveling and we can do Blab. So it's time to try the 3rd live broadcasting app, which is Blab, B-L-A-B. So if we decided, if I'm traveling, there's no excuse not to conduct this show. We're going to blab it.
I like it. Yeah. And we'll platforms will come and go, and we'll try the ones that have the best uptake. And as we've said before, if people have watched us before, one of the advantages of the Blab is people can be in different locations, and there's still a video feed.
Yeah.
And and if people have their suggestions in terms of topics, in terms of technology, please do send that in. This is a two-way dialogue. We love to have the interaction live. And as I mentioned, and let me do it one more time, is for those people who are watching this, we're giving a bit of a prize, and we'll be doing this every week, a different prize every week. This week, if you've made it to this end of this broadcast, as SHRM, we're going to offer a discount on SHRM membership for people who've watched this show today. Send me an email saying that you watched May 12th.
Or tweet. Tweet is better.
That they send the tweet?
Yeah.
Well, I want it to stay closed. I want the people who are knowing. I don't want someone who sees your tweet to me say, "Hey, I want in on this too." Maybe we'll find different channels of promotion, but
private message,
a DM. So either way. So brad.boyson@shrm.org, and we will send you a special code that will give you a discount on SHRM membership. Regular price outside the United States per year, $95. This will give you substantial savings off of that.
Thank you, Brad. And like I said, next week we can be do blabbing or the usual whatever we are doing, like what we are doing every week via Facebook and via Periscope. Please keep your suggestions and topics and engagement. We like that, and this is what keeps us doing this. Enjoy your weekend, and from me and Brad, a very happy weekend to all of you. Bye bye.